The solution is actually two triangles, and they're very complicated triangles, but in the macro level they are very simple. We have an urban water cycle in Australia, which is in the big cities, and we have an agricultural water cycle, which is best expressed in the Murray-Darling Basin, and it absolutely required government leadership, and there were a number of presentations about the COAG reforms that started in '94 and consummated in the National Water Initiative and all the legislation and the big pots of money. But in our urban water supply, it is really simple. You've got customers, you've got water utilities, and you've got capital. And how they all interact is the solution. Now, customers have got to change their behaviour in a drought. There is no alternative. Utilities have got to do everything possible in a severe drought to plug up leaks and to manage their customers. And so that's metering and leak detection and all of those sort of things, recycling where it's possible. And it is very expensive to start applying capital with dozens or hundreds of weeks duration because we're running out of water fast. Now, I think the California government has passed a proposition at the last election. How much was allocated, John? Was it many billions of dollars were allocated to sink into capital? And the problem of the governor is, what the hell do I do with all this capital? I've been voted this capital in their budgeting system. Now, what do I do? What do I apply the capital to? And that was the quandary that we had some discussion. When you looked at the agricultural side, it was also a triangle, and in the north of California, you've got this vast agricultural economy, some in the south too, but this huge agricultural economy. You know, the snow falls on the mountains, it runs down into a north-south river that flows up the middle of California. The river turns westward and goes out into the ocean at San Francisco. So you've got this huge agricultural economy on this river, and a very ancient set of water entitlements and water allocations. And again, there's only three variables here: the water sources themselves, and they were running out, the market, how you bought and sold water. I use the story in Australia. We typically grow 1 million tonnes of rice a year, but during the drought we grew 10,000 tonnes. You know, rice farmers basically went on holidays because all of the water entitlements that they had, they kept the entitlements, but they sold what limited water they had to the vegetable growers. And the supermarkets were full of vegetables in a drought. Anyone was short of vegetables during the drought? No one. Because the rice farmers went on holidays, sold their water to the vegetable growers, and the vegetable growers kept the supermarkets alive. That is not possible to do in California, and that's one of the learning experience that Frontier Economics was engaged to do a bit of preliminary work. And obviously the farmers now make a decision about whether to grow or not to grow. Those who have trees or vines have got to do a minimum amount of watering to keep their trees and vines alive, but those who have annual crops like rice and cotton and alfalfa, you know, grasses and of all types, they can go on holidays and sell their water to someone else. So the farmers are not losing out, the vegetable growers are growing vegetables, the people are happy that it's in the supermarkets. Now, this is where the politics comes in. In each of these triangles, it is absolutely alive with politics. If you stand up in a growers' meeting, as I have in a few places, they're just electric with politics among growers. And I said, it's really easy. The governments have got to adopt a policy: no grower loses, no farmer loses. That's rule number one. Whatever the issue is, come back to rule number one: no farmer loses. And you know, if you start to get into the agro-politics of this river valley and this vast agricultural economy, in the urban environment, people have had artificially low prices. There's been no water meeting, and once you start putting all of that in the urban area, you get a whole lot of local government politics all turning out. And then if you start trading between, if the urban population starts buying or compulsorily using water out of agriculture, you get a whole lot of politics about that. And so I said, this is not for the politically faint-hearted, and the governor appears not to be politically faint-hearted.